Hello, hello. Welcome back. We're excited to have our second day of Facebook Live at Lunch talking real estate. And today we are talking with Bobby Bauer. He is with Bauer Inspections. So welcome, Bob.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, we're excited to have him. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes and see if we can get some people to join in. So feel free to like and share our posts from any of our pages. Our business pages are all listed there. Again, we've got Kyle Olson with Keller Williams.
Hey guys. Whoa, wrong way. Sorry.
We forget that it's backwards for us. And then I myself am Lindsey Svir with Rubicon Mortgage Advisors. So we're so excited. Hey, we had one live viewer.
Perfect.
We're hoping to have a couple more here, and then we'll bounce in. Again, we've got Bobby Bauer with Bauer Inspections. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Nervous?
No.
Good deal. We're excited to have you.
Okay.
Tell us about yourself.
I am a local from the area. I've been born and raised in the FM area. Background as far as work related, I was a general contractor for about 10 years and eventually progressed into becoming a home inspector, which I thoroughly enjoy. So I have a very strong background, obviously, in the building trades, and it has been a good transition into home inspections.
That's awesome. Very cool. It's good to have somebody that actually knows their stuff and has a little background to build off of. So,
absolutely.
Great. Well, we're so excited that you're here. Anything else about Bauer Inspections specifically where did it come from? Where did the dream become a reality?
Sometimes life kind of guides you into a certain area, and that was very much the case with home inspections.
Yeah.
I had never really thought about it. And I had a bunch of realtors that I knew, and they were continually saying, hey, we need more home inspectors.
Yeah.
And so that's really how it began. Yeah, it was just people commenting, and eventually I kind of took the bait and said, maybe this is something I should do.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Cool.
One of the things as realtors that we like to push, when we're getting that purchase agreement out there, that's one of the things where we can help protect you in that purchase is to bring an inspector and look at that home and look at what that home is doing and if there's anything we need to be concerned about. And that's where I give you a list of great inspectors, including Bobby here, who's going to help you guys out in making those decisions about that home that's beyond maybe what the normal homeowner knows about the house and how they can, what things might need to be repaired or where we're at with the house. And so we have Bobby here who's done that and has that great experience.
Yeah, well, we are excited to again be here live with Bobby Bauer with Bauer Inspections. We're going to start shooting some questions, but we really encourage you guys to interact and ask any questions throughout this live cast, and post live cast we'll still respond. So feel free again to like and share this page and this post to get your friends and everybody involved in learning about home inspections.
And don't forget to follow this live cast so you can catch us on the next week. We'll be doing another live cast tomorrow as well as on Thursday. More stuff about the home buying process, selling process, and how we can help you with real estate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bobby, I'm a home buyer.
Yes.
Why would I want to get a home inspection?
Well, keep in mind that purchasing a home is most likely going to be one of the most or one of the biggest financial decisions that you're going to make in your life. And so having a good idea, what is it that I'm purchasing? Are there any things that I should know about with this property regarding the overall health of the property, repairs that may need to be done, safety items, things like that, because let's face it, we do spend a lot of our resources, a lot of our time, and so forth with these homes. So really having a good, clear picture of what's there is very important.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I guess then, is it something that I could do myself or have my dad or my uncle help out with? Like, what's the benefit of hiring a licensed professional versus just, I know the basics of a home and what it should look like, can I just do it myself?
You know what, that is a really, really great question. And I do get asked that very, very often by people. And here's what I tell people. I actually used to inspect my own homes when I was a contractor. I had purchased a number of homes. I thought, oh, I don't need a home inspection. I work in the construction world every day. So why would I pay someone to come in and look for things when I know about construction? Well, now that I am a home inspector, I tell everyone I would wholeheartedly get a home inspection from a home inspector and have not done one as a contractor. And here really is the biggest reason. As a contractor, I was paid to repair something once people were aware that there was an issue or there was a concern. As an inspector, your job is to try to find issues and concerns before anybody's aware that they're even there. And so there is a very distinct difference between those two things. And so for me, I always recommend having someone that does it every day, that knows the signs to look for, and sometimes they're very subtle hints or clues that you may not pick up on unless you do home inspections for a living every day.
Right. No, that's very true. And I guess, is that something then that I should be there for as a buyer? Do I hire you, and how does that process look?
It really depends on the person. Sometimes schedules and location of where you're living now and where you're moving to may not allow you to be there. So that does happen, but I typically do recommend, if you can be at the inspection, it's not a bad idea to be there, because you're going to get a chance to interact, number one, with your inspector and ask some questions. What is this? Why is this, the way that it is? And you're going to really feel like you're up to speed with what the property is. And instead of looking at notes or an inspection report where you may not get all of the information that you would like. As inspectors, we try to include all those things, but it just seems to be much easier to convey what something is when you can discuss it with someone.
Right.
And that's one thing I tell my clients as well, is this is another opportunity for you to get into that home that you're looking to purchase. You've maybe been in it one or two times as we're making the decision as to what house you want to buy. But now we're able to get in there and spend a couple of hours really digging into it, seeing those things. And a lot of times my clients will see things they had forgotten about or didn't even realize about or didn't even look at. And so we're able to look deeper in those spots and find whether or not, this is really true the house you want, and what things may or may not be going on with the house, so that we're able to make an educated decision. And that's the best part about the process, is educating you the entire way through, so you know exactly that you're making the best decision you can on this large purchase of your life. Maybe one of your biggest investments for a lot of people. So we're making sure we're protecting that in all areas that we can. And one question that came up to me, Bobby, is, hey, there's these old 50-year-old houses that obviously I want to get an inspection on that. But what about a brand new one?
You know what? I always recommend having an inspection, even on brand new properties, because we do have a lot of really great builders in town. And, I'll have clients indicate to me that, I'm buying a home, it's a reputable builder, I'm really not that concerned about it. The city is going to have city inspectors come out to inspect certain areas of the home as it's built. But my response is a few things. The first is, with having the city inspectors come out and inspect, they're checking for the bare minimum. They're not checking for quality. They're making sure that those requirements that are the bare minimums as far as standards are being met. Sure. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's been done in a quality way. So sometimes it's nice to have eyes that are not looking just to check off that box and say, yep, it does have that. The other thing too is a lot of times builders don't just build by themselves. They have crews and people that they hire that will come in and build and be in on the building process. So sometimes, even though you have a particular builder working at a home, there may be others working there that you don't know and you're not aware of. And so having a second set of eyes there is never a bad idea.
Absolutely.
Right. Very cool.
Have you found anything crazy that the builder completely missed while you're in the new home?
I have had some very unique things. Had a home where the foundation, it was a brand new home, no one was living in it yet. There seemed to be some settling in the basement flooring area, a lot of cracking. And so I'll make a long story short. I said, it just doesn't seem right they ended up going back and checking, had to remove the basement floor, and discovered that they had not placed rebar in the concrete.
Oh no!
So do things get missed during the inspection process with city inspectors and things? Yes, we're all human, so things can get missed. They can be overlooked. And so, it doesn't hurt to have a second set of eyes or a second opinion.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for, to affect you in those situations where we find issues that may not be working right.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Exactly. Well, hey, we do have a couple people watching, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them. Again, we're here live with Bobby Bauer with Bauer Home Inspections, and we're just asking him kind of a little bit about the process, and he was just talking about getting it on new construction. How about with existing homes? What are things specifically, what are the most common issues, I guess, that you would find in a home?
When we go through a home, we're really looking for the overall health of structure. I joke and I say it's kind of like having a physical from your family doctor. They're going to check everything and make sure that everything's functioning the way that it should. So, we're going to be checking doors, windows, roofs, shingles, foundations, electrical, plumbing, heating, cooling. I mean, it's just an overall view of the entire structure. One thing to keep in mind in the Fargo-Moorhead area is it is very common for our structures to have some movement. They actually did a study of Cass County a number of years ago. They came to the conclusion that Cass County, aside from one small area in the city of Horace, was really not ideal to build structures in. So and so I joke and say we've been building here for 100 plus years. We'll continue to do that, but you are going to have some movement of your structure, and so it is important to determine, is this normal movement or is this significant movement that you should be concerned about? So that is always a big concern when I look at structures. Electrical too, just making sure that things are safe in the home for your clients is a big part of the home inspection process too.
Mm-hmm. And it really, to describe the process as far as where a home inspection fits in, I guess for people that are looking at being a first-time home buyer, typically you're going to begin with your lender and your real estate agent, finding the house, getting the pre-approval and all of that. Once you have a contract, Kyle, can you mention the inspection contingency and what that all means?
Absolutely. When we put together a contract, we're going to look at the market and see what the market is doing and how fast it's moving. If it's moving really fast, we might have to push that contingency. Typically, we do about 7 days in there to make sure we have time to look through the house, get the inspector over there, and have some time to figure out what we might need to ask for remedies in order to fix any major problems that we have in there. So that contingency is going to be in there. It's going to allow you to, if major problems are there, we're going to be able to back out of that contract and be able to move on to a house that's really going to work for you. But it's also going to allow you to negotiate any of those issues that Bobby's found. We're talking the big things, the big, major components of your house, the lifeblood of it, whether or not it's the AC, the heating, the structural integrity, the roof, those types of things. We're not talking, dings in the walls or paint chips missing or light switch covers missing. Those things we're not going to really negotiate on because we're going to be able to say, well, that's part of owning a house. You can do a few of those things yourself. But the big things are the ones that we want to talk about, the things that are costing you thousands of dollars. And we want to make sure that we're protecting you and getting the value, the actual value of that house at that point in time. So that's where Bauer comes in. Hopefully we get them in usually within a couple of days. We'll be able to get in there and take a look at it and give you some time to think about, well, hey, if we need a new deck or we need a new door or we need a new window, what is that going to cost? How are we going to take care of that? What's going to be the best negotiation? Maybe it's some money off. Maybe it's getting it repaired, replaced, whatever that case may be. And that's where we're going to look at kind of how the market is doing and how fast it's going and what other people are doing in that area. So it's great to have a very experienced agent who's dealt with some of those things, who has a connection with a lot of other people in the area, tradesmen in the area who are able to come in quickly and get those things resolved and give you estimates or quotes or whatever we need to do to get them fixed right away. And that's one of the great things here with myself and with Bobby. We're able to recommend those great people in the area. We both grew up here you grew up in the area,
yeah,
right?
I grew up here.
Yep, I grew up in Moorhead, and so we're well connected with those people who are able to solve those problems as fast as we can and get back to getting you in that dream home.
Right. So then with the cost, there's a cost associated obviously with your services.
Yeah.
You don't do them for free. who pays for them? How do I get the report? What does that look like?
Typically, it is the buyer that will pay for the inspection report. Sometimes there are special circumstances where something's negotiated or has been arranged beforehand, but typically it would be the buyer that would pay for the home inspection.
And what does the cost of the home inspection typically run, and how long does it take to get that report?
Depending on who your inspector is, roughly anywhere from around $300 up to about $350, depending on who it is. Bauer inspections, we charge $310 for a home inspection, and so you're going to be right in the $300 to $350 range for most inspections.
Okay.
And I want to pop in here, not everybody even on the buyer side is doing it. Sometimes we do them on the seller side. Before we list, we take a look at the house, see if we can address any of those issues before we get it on the market, so we can try and resolve anything before the buyers come in as well. So don't forget that's an option too before we list.
I always say that is a great option, because I think it does a few things as a seller. It, number one, will say that, or show that we're not here trying to hide anything. We're being proactive. We want you to know what is here. And then also it allows our sellers to repair things before someone comes in and purchases a home. Because sometimes a buyer will still want to have a home inspection with their particular inspector.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
But if you can repair things before that home inspection takes place, because you've become aware of those issues, it just makes the process seem to move much more smoothly. It's less things to negotiate, much less stress involved. So never a bad idea.
Yep, exactly. And the nice part about it from the lending perspective is once you have a purchase agreement and that inspection contingency is removed, meaning the report is done, everything is fine, everybody's signed off on it, and we're moving forward. On the lending side, if there is anything that comes up, a lot of times we'll work with the inspector to say, hey, the life of the shingles looks like it's getting to the end. And the information for the lending side of it's good to know that, because then before the appraisal happens, we are already privy to it.
Absolutely.
And we can take pictures maybe from the inspection report, or we can let the appraiser know if there's a crack in the foundation, we're thinking about doing a particular loan, would this cause an issue? Or if we already know at the time of the inspection, hey, some windows were cracked or some things were highlighted, then we can say, let's repair those prior to the appraisal being done, because the inspection and the appraisal are two different things.
They really are. As an appraiser, and I'm not an appraiser, but I do work next to it and interact with them quite regularly. They're really looking for things that would be a financial stress or something that could devalue a property. They're going to be looking for safety issues that, again, could be a financial concern, whether they were lawsuits for someone getting hurt, or there's a number of different reasons or things that they're looking for. But as inspectors, really one of the jobs, in my opinion, is to take the time to figure out what type of a loan is this person doing. And are there things here that I feel an appraiser is going to want, or a bank or a lender is going to want repaired before you close on a property? And so if we know that there's a crack in the foundation, I try to take the time to make a note of that and then distinguish, is this something that we should be concerned about structurally, or is this just something that you want to watch and it's here and I want you to be aware of it? So really just taking even the time to distinguish and make notes can be nice, especially with what you do, where you can reach out to that inspector and say, hey, they have a question about this. Do you have any insight? And I'm always very happy to say, yes, I have that information. I'll gladly share it with you and the underwriters and whoever is involved. And, in certain cases, be able to say, no, I don't have a worry or a concern with this structurally. Here's what it looks like. I think you guys are fine to proceed forward.
Yeah, and I've seen that before where maybe an appraiser has even flagged something. Say the basement foundation had a crack in it, but there is some bracing in place. But the appraiser is questioning the structural integrity of it. Is the bracing, was it done properly? Well, and we can go back to the inspector sometimes and save the buyer money from having to get another licensed professional out there, structural engineer possibly, the inspector, we already are privy to the information. The inspector is able to say, hey, I looked at it.
Yeah.
The bracing all looks great. If they sign off on it, the appraiser is just saying, I'm just letting you guys know that this might be a concern.
Absolutely.
Then, we're able to kind of join forces and make sure that we're all on the same page to let the underwriter know that the house is good.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to put it, is that we all are on the same page. And I've noticed in the past few years where there has been a lot more interaction between lenders and appraisers and inspectors, because we're really all trying to accomplish the same thing.
Goal. Yeah.
So let's work together to do that.
Exactly. Well, hey, we do have a question here from Elise. She's asking, how long does an inspection take?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It depends on the property. There's going to be a few factors. One will be weather conditions.
Yeah.
If it's the middle of winter, sometimes it takes a little longer to do some exterior things. But also the size of the structure will be a factor. The age of the structure will be a factor. The things that we find during the inspection process will be a factor. But what I tell people when they ask and call to schedule an inspection is, typically it will take around an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on what we find at that time.
Perfect. Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I can schedule that. And then another question is, what's radon? And why would I need to be tested for it?
Well, radon is actually a colorless, odorless gas that comes from the ground. It is a radioactive material. I won't bore you with a bunch of the details of it. As inspectors, we do go in depth before we get trained in it, and I can ramble off all kinds of boring things that no one would probably care much about. But it is a colorless, odorless gas that is radioactive. Now, the fear is that it isn't a concern about touching skin or, like you would have with x-rays, things like that. It's really more of a fear of inhaling or inhalation of the particles from that radon gas. Cass County and all of North Dakota is actually in Zone 3. There's 3 zones. There's Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. Zone 3 is actually the highest level of radon concentration.
So
just like our great soil to build in, we do typically have a concern or a possibility for having radon. So what the fear is with radon is that if it is indeed in your structure, and every structure for the most part is going to have some levels of radon, what the EPA says is that you want to level at or below 4 picocuries per liter. Again, those are kind of boring terms that probably
5 times fast.
Yeah. So, during the inspection process, if you choose to have a radon test, what we do is we set up a continuous radon monitoring system. It typically takes at least 48 hours. We set that up, and that will give you an indication of how high are radon levels in this home, and is this something I should be concerned about for my health? The EPA believes right now that radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer.
Wow.
So I always tell people when they ask, should we have it, should we test for it? I always say, well, it's never a bad idea to test and have an idea of what's present. But a question to ask yourself is, how often are we going to be in, for instance, the basement area or a basement space? Because typically the lowest level of the structure is where your highest levels are going to be present. So if it's an area that you think you're going to use a lot, or there's people sleeping in the basement in bedrooms, or that's where your movie room is and you're down there every night, then it's not a bad idea to have it tested and see at least what's there. The great thing with radon, I tell people, is even if you have levels above 4, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put in a mitigation system or take steps at that point. It just gives you some information to be aware of.
Right. So then do you work with other professionals if there is an installation needed for some kind of mitigation, or is that something you do yourself?
No, I do not actually install radon mitigation systems. I do get asked quite regularly if I do that. I would be able to, and really all inspectors that are licensed to perform home or radon inspections would be able to, if they wanted to become licensed as a mitigation contractor fairly easily, because we really are taking the same courses to get licensed. But I don't do it because I would never want it to be a conflict of interest. I don't want to convince you to have a test and then convince you to repair it. I'll refer you on to someone else, or you may choose to pick whoever you want. And that way I'm an unbiased third party. You don't have to worry about any motivation to sell a system to you coming from me.
Yeah, perfect. Well, does anybody else out there have any questions at all? Please feel free to post them. Again, this is Bobby Bauer joining us for our Real Estate Live at Lunch. Anything else that you can think of? How about, what are some odd things that you've found in homes? I'm sure there's a few.
There is, yes. The thing I say with my job is it's never the same. Every day is different. One that always sticks out with me and comes to mind is I opened an access cover at an electrical panel one time, and lo and behold, when I opened the panel, there was a bat. Now, the bat was no longer alive, which was great because we probably would have had to call the ambulance or something, because I'm guessing I would have probably went over and through people to get out of the way. I'll step on kids or others if I have to get out of the room. But thankfully, it was no longer alive. But the part that I thought was even more humorous in the scenario was it was actually the day of Halloween. And I thought, what are the odds that I would find a bat on Halloween? And so sometimes you open things and you do get some real good surprises and things that you never expected to find.
Oh my gosh.
Let's touch on that a little bit. Are you able to make assumptions or anything about animals that are in the area or insects or anything like that? Is that something you're able to inspect on, or do we need to bring in somebody else?
Well, with a home inspection, again, there's those signs and those clues that you're looking for during the process. As silly as it sounds, when you're opening cabinets, when you're looking underneath particular items, one of the things you're looking for is signs of rodent intrusion, insect intrusion. So you're looking for droppings, you're looking for signs of things that have been chewed on, all kinds of unique things. A lot of times you'll get squirrels or birds in attic spaces. And if you're looking in that attic space, I'm looking at insulation, but I'm also looking, do I see any signs of feathers or grass or whatever it is that might be in there that could be an indication that there's something there that we don't want to be present.
So I'm sure you've got a list of different people to get rid of those.
Yeah, and there's
pest control.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I say. It's never a bad idea to consult with somebody that is there to remove those things, whether it's a pest control specialist or whoever it might be. I always joke with people when I go into, say, crawl spaces or things like that, because typically people are curious. They want to see what I'm seeing as well. And I always warn everybody as we're going to the access covers, we're all going to take one step back. I don't think we're going to find anything in here, but if we do, we want to have an escape route, and I don't want to have to climb over you to get out of the way. So
you don't want to have like a raccoon family or
no,
something.
I haven't. Thankfully, you've probably jinxed me now. I haven't run across that yet. I've seen signs of those things, but I haven't necessarily stumbled across. So
how far do you travel? So if I'm looking at hiring you.
I actually enjoy traveling. I usually go within an hour to an hour and a half of Fargo.
Okay. That's lakes country.
Yeah, it is.
That's
absolutely.
You might find some raccoons.
Yeah, and there's so many of us that do enjoy the lakes area, and so I look at the lakes area and some of those outlying areas as really being an extension of the Fargo-Moorhead area. Mm-hmm. When you think of Fargo-Moorhead, especially in the summertime, there's a large number of us that do go to that area. And so I obviously want to help my clients from here with their homes at the lake. But I actually had a day, it's probably been 4 months or so ago, I was in Arthur at 9 a.m. I was in Holly at 1 o'clock, and then I was in Breckenridge at 4 o'clock. And
that's a lot of miles.
It is a lot of miles, but I do enjoy it because it gives me the ability to see homes from different builders. Everywhere kind of has their styles and their ways of doing things, and so it gives me a little time to see some new and unique ways of building things. And sometimes I'm shocked at how well people have become at addressing certain issues and overcoming certain issues that can happen in homes in this area. And so sometimes I open an attic space and say, wow, that's a really great idea on how to address venting in a particular section of a home. And so you get some new ideas, and it's just neat to see how other people build things.
Very cool.
Well, Bobby, we're getting close to the end, but I have a question about the end of the process. Does that end of the process end when we get done with that inspection? Or let's say I'm a year or two down and I find something about my house that just doesn't make sense, or I'm always there to help refer people to people who can help them fix something in the house.
Yeah.
What do you help with those situations as well?
You know what? Absolutely. I tell every client when we finish, I always say, once you are a client, you are always a client. Whether it's 2 days from now or 2 years from now, if you have a question about your home, if you have a home maintenance question, if you have a question regarding something that was here previously, please contact me. I will gladly help you any way that I can. Sometimes it's nice to be able to refer back to photographs. Now, you may have an area of the home that you're seeing a concern in, but you don't have anything on your inspection report. That doesn't necessarily mean that I haven't taken a photograph of it, because typically I will take anywhere from 50 to 78 photographs during a home inspection. So it a lot of times will give us the ability to say, okay, we didn't have issues in your attic space, but let's look at it, what it looks like now, and what did it look like 2 years ago, and are there some changes? Are there things going on?
That's
Absolutely.
great.
That's great.
That's awesome. Well, we're happy to have you as part of the process. Again, Bobby Bauer with Bauer Inspections. Feel free to like his page and share this post and comment and post on any questions that you guys might have. Thank you for tuning in.
We'll be here again live tomorrow. We'll have
DJ
Coulter from American Family with us, and we'll be talking about insurance and how we can look at a house and what things we can do to bring down your cost of your insurance as well. So tune in tomorrow. You can find us on our Facebook pages, like us, and we'll be here.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, and have a great day, you guys.
Bye.